Hey guys, this video is to help you with 3.8 as you work on picking a line of inquiry, answering it, looking for evidence to answer it, and writing a thesis statement. So in 3.8, you will see that the lesson objective is students will be able to write a thesis statement in order to plan to write a 5-paragraph essay on the book following a chosen line of inquiry. And then there's the must-dos, the brainstorming and thesis with videos, this being one of them. You should do an outline, and there's an aspire to do that. You type a rough draft of your essay and you share it with us. The mastery check is that you write your thesis statement. It says type here, but we're going to have you write it on a half sheet of paper like you do with all of your mastery checks. Okay, so the first, let's just look at what we're being told here in the packet to do. Step 1 says brainstorming and writing the thesis. Essay prompt. Examine Peter Razor's memoir While the Locust Slept through one of the following lines of inquiry. And then we're told to read the lines of inquiry listed in 3.7 step 2 and choose one. Then begin investigating the line of inquiry by answering the questions below. So we're going to go back to 3.7 step 2. This was an aspire to do back in 3.7, but now it's a must do in 3.8. So if you already spent some time looking at the lines of inquiry in 3.7, you're ahead of the game. For the rest of us, we have to read these now. So the lines of inquiry are questions, and you are picking one to answer. They're divided by theme, growing up in the margins. There are 5 questions about that. You're going to pick one question, not all of them, just one. So there are the 5 questions on growing up in the margins. And then the next theme is standing up to oppression. There are 5 questions that are about the theme standing up to oppression. You would pick one of these. And then there are 5 questions about the subjectivity of truth. If you want to use this theme, you're going to pick one of these questions. Okay? So you're choosing one of 15 questions to answer, to write your essay on. All right, so once you choose one of your questions, and let's just pick this one right now. How does Peter use official documents to add to his story? How do these documents sometimes deny his reality and at other times support and even amplify it? I am going to take that and just copy it down into 3.1 or 3.8 step 1. It goes right here. Okay, so you can pause this video and pick one of those lines of inquiry that you would like to answer right now. Okay, so I wrote down my line of inquiry. What is your line of inquiry? Write it here and then write the theme that it connects to. All right, the next question is to just free write an answer. Just put your pencil to the paper and start writing. How do you think you might answer this question? Free write an answer, just write whatever comes to mind at this point. And so don't worry too much about what you're writing here. Just, like I said, put your pen or your pencil on the paper and write away. All right, so I just spent a couple minutes thinking about the question that I picked, which once again is, how does Peter use official documents to add to his story? How do these documents sometimes deny his reality and other times support and even amplify it? So I said Peter uses italics to show records from the state school and other governmental documents throughout the book. They sometimes show a totally different side of the story, like when the school could not find any other reason for Peter running away except to have some fun, and when the psychologist had no idea why Peter had panic attacks, anxiety, and depression because his early years were stable and healthy. I can't think of any off the top of my head that show his side of the story or amplify his voice, but I could go back and look for them. Okay, so that's just my initial thoughts in how I might answer this question. All right, so number 3 is to now go back to the reading questions in this packet to look for evidence connected to the line of inquiry. Star or highlight any questions that may help answer it. And then after looking at the evidence from the reading questions connected to your line of inquiry, what examples from the book can you use to answer the line of inquiry? So I'm going to just literally go back to the questions. And so since I have the electronic document here that you can see, you could go do this in different ways. You might start with like the most recent lesson about the book, 3.7, and work your way backwards, or you could start from the very first lesson and work your way forward. It's totally up to you. I'm going to start from the most recent. So 3.7 was about chapter 12 in the epilogue. The first question is about the italics at the beginning. Those are italics just like I was writing about, but those are about, those are different. They're not the documented sources. So I'm going to ignore that question. Signs that Peter's still recovering. I don't know that that would connect. What does Peter learn about alcohol? I don't know. How have the violent attacks from people in Peter's past affected? Peter says about the scene with Bud, a state school boy. When Peter hears that Emma Shaw's died of natural causes, he reflects, would I have died? So I'm not seeing any documentation here yet. Oh, here we go. Peter includes documentation from the University Hospital in the Twin Cities about his hospitalization due to anxiety and depression. What is surprising about this documentation? Well, this is the one that I mentioned in my free writing. And so here I could, I have a good spot where I can go back into the book right away at the beginning of the epilogue. So I could go there and look at that really closely and maybe use that as an example in my essay. All right, I don't think I have any of the other ones. I don't think they connect. So then I can go back to 3.6 and take a look at the 3.6 questions. What have I got there? Italicized text, punishment, that's not the documentation. Important lessons Peter learns from running away. Who are the Coreys? Peter wonders if the Coreys were helping Dr. Yeager. Research as an adult. Oh, now this one might work. His research as an adult, what does it teach him about farm and uninsured boys? I could go back there and see if he uses any documentation, if he quotes anything from his research, then that might help answer the question. The attack. Okay, I don't think there's anything else there. So now I could go back to 3.5. And you're really looking for 3 good examples. And so it's okay if you don't find a question that connects to your line of inquiry in every lesson. But the more you find, the more possibilities of examples you're going to have. We learned about his first time running away. What records of the state school? Oh, this one's going to work too. And this was the one that I was reminded of too in my initial brainstorming. So here's another good one. So I already have 3 places I can look for, and I'm only in 3.5. So you're going to want to do the same thing, okay? And, pick a line of inquiry that resonates with you. Don't just pick the one I did. Pick one that you like, that is interesting to you, that brings up some ideas of what you've read already. And don't just use the one that I chose, okay? All right. So that is how to get started. Okay, I had to plug my Chromebook in, or my laptop in. So now with number 4, this is where we actually find 3 pieces of textual evidence that answer or connect to the line of inquiry. And then you want to list them below. So we're looking for an example from the book that answers your line of inquiry and a page number. And you're going to be really specific here. Quotes are great, or you can use just really specific details and include a page number here. So we want 3 separate examples that connect to your line of inquiry. Number 5 is, how do the examples above answer or connect to your line of inquiry? Look for patterns between them and focus on what point Razor seems to be saying in connection to the theme. How are all of the examples similar? How do they work together to make a point? And so in the ones that I was just looking at, the examples of the documentation were the opposite of what Peter Razor experienced. And so I might say that the documentation shows that Peter's truth was ignored. He was gaslighted. He had all of these things happen to him, and yet all of the official records don't have any of that included in it, as if it was not real, as if he was making it up or crazy. And so I might write about that here. And then it's time to write your thesis statement. This will be the main argument you will make in your essay. And there is a Desmos in Schoology to help you with your thesis statement as well, rather than a video. And you can all start your thesis statement the same way if you want to. You can start with, while the locust slept by Peter Razor communicates the message that. And for my question, since it's under the subjectivity of truth, I'm going to probably get the subjectivity of truth in there. And then I'm going to make a point about what I think his use of documentation was to communicate a message about the subjectivity of truth. So it might be something like, while the locust slept by Peter Razor communicates the message that the subjectivity of the truth is, or give me a second here.